And we are live. What's going on, guys? It's Ricky with TechBit Solutions. Hope that you guys are all having an amazing Sunday. Today it is August 24th, 7:10 p.m. and we are live. So thank you guys for tuning on in to our Sunday Stock Talk. For those that have never tuned on in, we go live every single Sunday for this kind of just like weekly prep. If you ever want to partake in this, all you literally have to do is subscribe. So subscribe to the channel. You can partake in the live chat if you are subscribed. And let's just go ahead and jump right into it. So what do we have in store for this week? So for those that do not know, this week we do have Nvidia reporting earnings. A handful of different companies are reporting earnings. The big one that I'm going to be paying attention to, and most of the market is as well, is on Wednesday after the market closes, Nvidia is set to report earnings. You guys let me know down in the comment section or by dropping a thumbs up. If you want me to go live, I'd be more than happy to do it publicly. If not, I can just do it privately for my LPP team. On top of that, for this upcoming week, again, we do provide you a real-time economic calendar. There's a bunch of these available. They're all for free. techbitsolutions.com/trading tools. So right under the trading tools, again, you just click on this week, and it tells you the series of reports that are going to be released on Monday, Tuesday. If I'm not mistaken, we have, Wednesday, nothing too significant. FOMC member Barkin speaks. PCE prices. This is what I wanted to pay attention to. GDP, sales, initial claims, continuing claims, and then core PCE and PCE reports should be coming out. And that's 1 hour before the market opens on Thursday. I do believe that that's going to be quite important. And here we go. The PCE index, which is the Federal Reserve's favorite way to actually measure inflation, is going to officially be released on Friday, 1 hour before the market opens. And then there's an expectation of a 0.3% increase. We'll see if it comes in as expected. So is this a super significant week for earnings or for economic events? I wouldn't say it's super significant, but it's there's enough going on that I think it would be important to pay attention to, especially in the middle to the later half of the week. So just make sure, right, every single day before the market opens, or hopefully the night before, you just look into the calendar and you make yourself aware of what's going to be released, so you're not surprised that by the time that the market opens, because a lot of these reports come out 1 hour before the market opens, that maybe we have a gap down or gap up. And if you're in a trade, then obviously it can change the overall direction of what you assumed or thought could have happened. With that being said, the part that I'm most excited about, especially if you're part of my close friends group on Instagram, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, it is linked in the description. I think it's the third or fourth link in the description down below. But one thing that I was talking about is my main focus this week is to kind of see how the markets trade after we received what I thought the market wanted. Right? All of last week, markets were kind of de-risking themselves because of why? Because of the Jackson Hole meeting. We wanted to solidify, receive clarity that Jerome Powell, who's the head of the Federal Reserve, was going to express that, yes, they were open to rate cuts. And guess what? Surprisingly, he actually did it. He said that they were willing to adjust, their overall original plan and possibly cut rates is what it seemed like they were open to in September. If we look at the Fed rate monitor tool, we're still 3 weeks away, 3 weeks and 2 days. It's September 17th. That's the next rate decision. There's an 82.9% probability for a rate cut, according to this tool. Again, it's just a probability tool, but a bunch of different platforms have them. And then there's a 17.1% probability for another rate pause. So what I want to pay attention to this week is we finally got what the market was asking for, and that's more clarity in a rate cut, right? Markets were de-risking last week leading up to this Jackson Hole meeting. Once it finally happened, it gapped up, but then now we're kind of like lagging, right? We're kind of slowing down. And then if you paid attention to the crypto market, you guys saw that there was a big dump, right? Looks like direction doesn't look very bullish. This is the reaction after the Jackson Hole meeting, and we've been kind of selling off since then. So this probably doesn't surprise a lot of seasoned investors or traders. And by seasoned, I don't mean that we have it all figured out. It's more of we've experienced this before, that markets push up so much leading up to a major event like this, that when it finally happens, it's kind of like, okay, well, it's already factored in. Now the market's kind of just like, it's the buy the rumors, sell the news type of approach. I'm not sure if that's going to be the case, but that's what we're looking for this week to see as Nvidia is set to report earnings. And that's really kind of going to be like the last nail in the coffin. Now that we're getting all of earnings out of the way, now that we're kind of receiving more clarity from the Federal Reserve, is that, hey, after pushing up so much in the past few months, is the market still going to continue to push up? Because then in that case, if we receive that clarity, it makes sense to go long, right? To continue to trade with the trend of the market. Or is now that all of this is becoming more clear and that now the Federal Reserve could be ready to cut rates, is it the buy the rumors, sell the news type of approach, right? Where now that they're ready to cut rates, now markets begin to sell off and correct themselves. It's a weird way to kind of think, but it's happened in the past before. I'm not here to say that the markets are going to sell off. That is literally what we're waiting for more clarity on this week. This will be the first trading week after we've received more clarity that the Federal Reserve is open to cutting rates. So please, for those that are shorting or for those that plan to go long, do not make impulsive decisions that you later end up regretting. We all know that the trend is your friend, and knowing and understanding the direction is super important. So right when the market opens, it doesn't mean that you have to take a trade. It's, hey, let's wait for market direction to be clear. If we receive clear market direction, there's really nice price momentum. Then again, at that point, we can make a more informed and calculated decision. So that's what I'm most excited for. Just wanted to make sure that we highlighted what to kind of look out for this week. And now I'm going to stop yapping and just get right to it. Whatever stock you guys want me to break down, I'll break down 5 of them. So just make sure you share it in that live chat, and I'd be more than happy to break it down for you. Okay? Nvidia. I feel like it'd be kind of dumb to not break down Nvidia, right? Nvidia is set to report earnings this week. I was thinking about making a video on Nvidia Tuesday night, talking about what the market expectation is, all that stuff, a fundamental analysis, a technical analysis. Would you guys like that on Tuesday night, the second video for the day, to be about Nvidia, a little bit more of an in-depth video? Does that sound like a plan? Very quickly. Obviously, if you guys are familiar with my style of trading, I don't normally like to trade a stock right before it reports earnings. I also want you to be aware I am invested in Nvidia long-term. It's one of my long-term holdings. I own it sub $100 per share. I'm not going to be like those Bitcoin people that tell you to buy Bitcoin at $120 per coin when I own it at $20 per coin, right? Just like I wouldn't tell you, although I'm invested in Nvidia. Again, it's very easy for me to be like, yeah, I think you guys should buy it at 180, but I own it sub 100. It's like, okay, well, that's easy for me to say because I have a lot of margin that I've already made off of it, right? I have a big cushion. So do I think Nvidia is a really good deal at this price level? No. I think the overall markets are overbought. I think Nvidia still has potential to push up in the short term, but I think big picture, Nvidia has a lot of retracement potential, just like the rest of the market. It's not to say that Nvidia will never go beyond $200 per share, because that would be naive to say. Nvidia is still growing aggressively as a company. But again, as companies grow, they don't just grow aggressively, they grow in waves, right? Strong bull markets and then solid retracements. Strong bull markets and then solid retracements. So just something to pay attention to as of right now. If we look at Nvidia right now, where it currently stands from the lows that we made last week to the highs that we were at a few days ago, it's a 1-for-1. It looks like my profit potential based off of previous highs is about 3.2%. My risk potential is about 6%. I don't think I'm really excited to pay attention to Nvidia this week because it has a huge market cap, right? 4.34 trillion. If I'm not mistaken, it has the largest market cap of any of those that are publicly traded, but it's not like it's a killer deal. Even if Nvidia does push up, it's like, okay, just like it did last time, it's going to correct itself. And then it pushes up a little, and then it corrects itself. It's kind of been teeter-tottering at these overbought levels for the past month. It's really been slowing down, just like the rest of the market, which to me is kind of like a red flag of, hey, we could still push up a little bit higher, but there's just so much downside potential. And because of that, just like I shared with you, I'm invested in Nvidia and I would not buy any more at these levels. It's just too overvalued for me in this short period of time. I'm a big believer in, yeah, you can't time the market perfectly, but you can choose when to be aggressive and when to be more conservative with your position, right? And as of right now, I would rather be more conservative than be aggressive, buy more here, and then if it retraces, I later end up regretting it, right? I'm a deal hunter. I like to focus on deals. I don't need to buy it at the lowest price. I just want to make sure that I get it during somewhat of a downturn or distressed area. So I really do believe that Nvidia is going to be one of those stocks that is a big focus for the week. I just don't think it's going to be, I can't imagine it to be something that I really care to day trade much of, right? Regardless if it pushes up or pushes down, it is what it is. Nvidia is such a solid company. It would be a big surprise if it misses earnings. I can't imagine it selling off because it has a huge miss. I could imagine it selling off because maybe it just doesn't wow investors for future guidance because of China concerns. But again, that's something that I can talk about on Tuesday when I do a fundamental and a technical analysis on this specific stock itself, okay? Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. So that's the first one. This is going to be the second one. Someone asked for me to break down Walmart. And the reason they might be bringing up Walmart, I actually like that you brought this one up. I'm going to write it down on my notes. I already had it. If you're part of my LPP team, we talked about this one during one of our live trading sessions. But the reason I want to talk about this one is it reported earnings. And it looks like, we saw a really nice retracement, dropped below $100 per share. And if you look at the overall big picture for Walmart's a very bullish stock over a long period of time. There's nothing fancy about it. It's not tech focused. It's just very consistent and very bullish. So anytime that it retraces a little bit, I get kind of excited because it seems to be a decent dip buy opportunity. You're not going to become a millionaire by buying one share and it ends up recovering 7%. But again, this is different. This is, in my opinion, even when tech stocks sell off, Walmart isn't exposed to that same volatility. It could possibly still sell off if something like the Dow Jones sells off a little bit, but it's just a different overall ecosystem, right? The factors that affect Walmart are very different than the factors that affect, Nvidia or Tesla. So when you look at this on the 4-hour time frame, a really nice pullback. It's testing previous support levels. I can 100% see why you're paying attention to it and why it would be a stock worth watching at these levels. Do I think that Walmart is a stock worth day trading? No. Could I see Walmart being a stock worth either investing in or swing trading? Yes, at least for me, that would make a little bit more sense. So swing trading means carrying this position for maybe a number of days instead of just a day. But again, Walmart is not an AI-driven stock. It's not super volatile. So it pulling back, and even if it does recover a little bit, don't expect 20 to 30 to 50% returns in a short period of time. It's a bullish stock over a long period of time. There are retracements along the way. And the way that I see this, but it's just my opinion, is that I view it to be somewhat of a dip buy opportunity because it tends to do a very good job recovering, not just on the day chart, looking back to 2023, but again, you can zoom out as much as you would need, and you can see that every single time that it pulls back, it's just very consistent over a long period of time. But of course, it is also pretty overbought, so it might have some retracement potential, just something to pay attention to, okay? Let's go ahead and move on to the third one, the third stock that you guys would like me to break down. This one's not going to be part of our 5 just because I'm going to talk about this one very quickly, but I want to talk about it because I think people are getting this one confused. UNH got a lot of attention because Warren Buffett officially announced that it's a company that he's been investing in. He owns about $5 billion worth of UNH. Remember, he's been buying it for the past 2 quarters. He didn't just buy it now. UNH is currently being investigated. My daughter's account is invested in UNH very lightly. She owns it a little bit sub $300 per share. UNH is not a stock that is worth day trading, in my opinion. It's not a stock that I think that you will make it or break it in a short period of time. It's a stock that you really have to almost bet on the company. If you know the fundamentals of UNH, you know it's a very well-ran business, and it has been, as its performance has been incredibly bullish. But as of right now, it's being investigated for possible fraud. If they do find something in that investigation, the stock can continue to sell off. But if they end up closing that investigation and they allow this company to go back to business as usual, there's huge recovery potential, over 100%. So that is why for my daughter's account, I thought that it would be useful or worth the risk for her to take a small position on a fundamentally ran company that has potential to potentially recover over 100%, but also can receive some downside. I would not, and I've said this before, I do not imagine UNH trading much above or much below $300 as long as there are no updates on the investigation. If there are updates on the investigation of the fraud and through Medicare, depending if it's good or bad, will determine if it goes up or down. Again, UNH, in my opinion, is not a stock worth trading. It doesn't normally move enough intraday. If you think it does and it meets your criteria, be my guest. But UNH, in my opinion, is not a stock that you buy it today and you can sell it for a ton of profit tomorrow or next week or next month. I expect this thing to be, something that might take months or maybe years from now. And I'm okay with that. So remember, different stocks and different opportunities are meant for different investors, right? Some people don't want to wait years, and that's fine. I respect that. Find stocks that meet your criteria. I just wanted to share that with you, okay? All right. Ricky, can you break down Apple? Even with the markets being overvalued, do you think that Apple is a good buy due to... Okay, so Apple is also a stock that I own long term. So you are correct that Apple has not made a full recovery, but it doesn't have to. I want to remind you, this is the issue with the market right now. The overall market, NASDAQ and S&P 500 are pretty much at all-time highs. As long as markets continue to push up, it does give Apple and the rest of big tech companies the environment to continue to push up as well. It doesn't matter if Apple's not at all-time highs. If the markets begin to sell off for whatever reason, it will drag Apple down with it, regardless if Apple itself hasn't made a full recovery. Apple doesn't tend to be as volatile as the rest of the big tech companies because it's just really a cash printing machine. Apple, if you look at their overall revenue quarter after quarter, they've kind of plateaued for the past 2 to 3 years to some degree, but they print money. So yeah, they might not be growing at the same rate that Palantir and Nvidia are, but they make more than all of those companies combined in one quarter. Do you get what I mean? It's a different kind of company. It's very cash rich. So if you're asking the question, would I buy Apple now solely on the fact that it hasn't made a full recovery? I wouldn't. I personally wouldn't myself because markets are overbought enough that it doesn't matter where Apple currently is. If NASDAQ begins to sell off, it will drag down Apple with it. If you believe NASDAQ will continue to push higher because now the Federal Reserve is expected to cut rates and you think markets are only going to push up higher because that's what you believe, then yeah, I could see how you could entertain buying Apple now because then at that case, if NASDAQ and S&P 500 continue to push up, then it can bring Apple with it. That would be a correct assumption if that were to be the case. Does that make sense? I just wanted to explain that so it's understood. Okay? All right. Okay. So Ricky, could you look into Dash? Looks like it's about to bounce off of that EMA. Seems like it's really depends on the rest of the tech market, which again is kind of everything right now, right? But yeah, let's go take a look at Dash real quick. I appreciate you asking. I believe this is the fourth one, so we're gonna have one more stock that we're gonna break down. This is DoorDash, right? What? What is it pulling up? What's Dash? Okay. All right. I like it. I like that you're bringing this one up. I'm going to write this one on my... I like that you're bringing it up because it's a stock that has been recently bullish. It's been pretty consistent. It has a nice retracement, so a nice little pullback. And if you believe that markets are going to recover, DoorDash could possibly see that recovery as well, right? If you believe markets are going to resume to be bullish, and that's your assumption, then I can see why you're paying attention to something like Dash, because it is testing a major support. It's still forming recent lower highs and lower lows. But if you believe that markets are bullish, I would still wait for confirmation. But if that's the case, because the Federal Reserve is expected to cut rates, that's what the market wants. And if they begin to cut rates, markets are going to go higher. Then yes, I could see why this could be intriguing to watch Dash for a possible reversal. I could 100% see why you would be paying attention to this. If markets don't end up recovering and markets begin to sell off for whatever the reason might be, right? If it's the buy the rumor, sell the news like we talked about earlier, then just be careful, right? Because Dash has obviously pushed up a decent amount. And remember, it's the stocks that push up the hardest within a short period of time that tend to correct just as quick as well. Just something to pay attention to, okay? So very excited, and thank you for taking time to share this. The thing that I'm not the biggest fan of is its volume. It has lower trading volume. So you can see, because of its lower volume, you see big shifts. So it tends to be a little bit more volatile. From highs of 240, what is that? That's only a 1% drop from highs to low, 1.2%. And then it becomes very oversold, retests previous lows, goes back and shoots up. That's almost a 2% recovery, and then it retraces. It's a pretty volatile stock. So I would not say that this would be a stock for a beginner. This would be a stock for someone that can stomach some volatility. So just make sure that whatever stock it is that you're choosing to trade, it's a stock that aligns with your experience level. Okay. Remember, you're here because you want to, you're choosing to trade or invest in these companies. You should never be convinced to trade or invest in anything. It should make sense to you, and you should be aware of the risk. If you're not, take time to inform yourself. I can promise you, you will not regret learning more about the risk that come with these different stocks, and to ask yourself, is it something that you actually want to invest in? Okay, let's go ahead and do one more. All right, there's a few of you that are doing SoFi, asking for me to break down SoFi. Why is SoFi such a... It's up 2.3. What's going on with SoFi? It's at all-time highs. This one has been bullish, right? For a few. What's up with this? So I can see as a trade, why this would be a lucrative stock to pay attention to. It's incredibly bullish. It does not, let me make this very clear. It does not look like a good deal. But if you're just trying to enter a trade that is bullish, that you can get in and get out, and market direction tends to be in your favor, I mean, it's quite volatile. One moment it's pushing up, another moment it's selling off, another moment it's pushing up. And it looks like it does this quite often. So again, if you're a beginner, I would not trade this stock just because it tends to be quite volatile. But when direction becomes favorable, it looks pretty giving, right? It looks like it's pretty clear to understand the direction of the stock on the 5-minute time frame for the most part. Looks like sometimes at market open, you have to give it some time to kind of give its sense of direction. But okay. Yeah. I mean, it's pushing up. I would look into a fundamental reason on why this thing, it looked like this thing gapped up due to the Jackson Hole meeting, but it pushed up another 2.3%, which isn't normal right now. I don't know why this one would be pushed. There has to be some news that is being shared right now on why this thing is pushing up. SoFi is a very weak stock in fintech. Many other solid fintech companies if you choose this sector. I mean, again, like I said, it wouldn't surprise me that this stock is just doing very well right now. And then when we revisit this months from now, it could be back at $11 per share, right? If I remember correctly, this thing was the one that crashed. Yeah, it's the one that pumped during the last bull run as well. And it's testing those same levels. Isn't that crazy? how a lot of these tech companies that did very well during the previous bull run are barely back at those previous levels. So all the people that bag held up here, they lost 90% of their value. Now they're back. Now it's testing previous resistance. So do you think it's going to continue to go up from here? Or are we going to go back down here? A question to ask yourself, right? For those that don't know, there's a lot of companies that are like this right now. Robinhood is one of them. Robinhood pumped and then dumped, and now it pumped again. Something to pay attention to, right? I don't think HIMS. HIMS is a little bit of a newer one. We have not AMD. Where's Coin? Coin was one I thought. Have we not looked at Coin for that long? Yeah, look at that. Coin. Right back to previous highs, getting rejected. Possible retracement down to $31. This one's going to be a fun one to pay attention to. While we're talking about oversold possible stocks, is Coin done? What do you guys think? While we're talking about this one, don't get me started with Enphase. Isn't that ENPH? Yeah, Enphase Energy. Excuse me for that big sniffle. Consistent descending pattern. Yeah, Enphase was the one that pumped and then dumped, right? That's what you're talking about? Yeah. Yep, energy company. Yep, pumped and then dumped. Very similar to a lot of these, companies that did very well for a short period of time and then just got absolutely wrecked. SoFi, I'm not going to say that it's going to do, no one can predict the future. It's just, I think, useful to look back at previous patterns of a company and then ask yourself, hey, as long as you're aware of it and you're aware of the downside, and if you still choose to invest in it, that's a decision that you're choosing to make. My job is just here to make you aware of both the good and the bad. And if I don't think it's worth it, I might not trade it. It doesn't mean that you have to stay away from it, right? Maybe this thing does go up to $50 per share. Who knows? It's a crazy market that we're currently partaking in. I just think, again, it's important to make you aware of both the good and the bad. But yeah, what was the other one that we're looking at? We're looking at Coin. The reason I want to pull up Coin is because Coin has recently pulled on back. So if the assumption that you have is that markets are going to continue to skyrocket and you think Bitcoin market's going to continue to push to new highs, that means that Coin has some upside potential, right? Because if Bitcoin continues to push up and overall markets continue to push up, then why wouldn't Coin, right? Coin has about 39% of upside potential. It looks a little oversold based off of the recent timeline, but it just looks weak. Lower highs, lower lows, a lot of consolidation, currently testing 290 support. Maybe a stock worth paying attention to, maybe not, right? Depends on your criteria, but I'm going to set my alerts. I like the potential, I like the setup, and I would love to follow up with it depending on where the market goes. If market conditions do become bullish again and begin to push up because of the Federal Reserve wanting to cut rates and markets are going to make new all-time highs, that could provide Coin the environment to do well. Remember, a trade is not an investment. That doesn't mean that I have to hold this for a long period of time. It means that if I see potential in it and I see the market recovering, I can choose to take a position here maybe at 330 and then possibly sell as we approach previous all-time highs, making a little spread, locking in my profits, and then moving on, right? But I think that's what is most important this week, is asking the question, do we understand the market sentiment? Is market going to resume back to going bullish as it was for the past 4 months? Or based off of what we saw last week, is the market going to lose its hype and begin to retrace and go in for a correction? September, historically speaking, has been a little bit of a slower month for most of the market. But remember, patterns tend to repeat themselves. They don't always have to. So again, very excited to see what this week has to offer. We have PCE report on Friday. We have initial claims, continuing claims on Thursday, and we have Nvidia reporting earnings on Wednesday. I do plan to live stream most of these earning reports and most of these economic reports. All I literally ask you to do is to drop a thumbs up and subscribe, and I would love to be of value for you if you see it to be that. So other than that, I appreciate you guys' time. Don't forget, I do trade live every single morning. We do have a discount link in the description for you. It's the second link in the description down below. It allows you to join LPP 3.0 for $1 a day is what it breaks down to. It includes our daily live training session, our A to Z video lesson library that's designed for complete beginners, and also the LPP group chat. And like I said, it's a one-time payment, lifetime access. It's the only service that I offer. And whenever it is that you feel like you are ready, second link down below, and I'll see you tomorrow at Market Open for our live session. If not, again, just make sure you subscribe to the channel, and I'll do my part in keeping you guys up to date. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team. Happy Sunday.